after the lunch. We had amazing sessions in the morning. Now we're going to have some great sessions in the afternoon session. I don't want the energy to die down. This is the second day and we are only left with 3-4 more sessions. Okay? So be energetic, make sure you ask the right questions and make sure you clap because speakers deserve it. They have flown all the way from XYZ places, so they don't want told that Punjabis don't clap for them, right? That would be very weird. So if Hyderabad se aayega to Punjabi clap nahi karte. That would be so weird, and especially after having those gulab jamuns with ice creams. So ideally you should be clapping for them. But that's something. Alright, so before we start the next session, I would again like to thank the sponsors. We have got our co-host sponsor as ISB. We have got Startup Punjab, UKTI, STPI, Chitkara, NSI, Secret City, Sidbi, Drish, Ethos, Amazon, IDS, HSIIDC and Naukri.com. So a lot of support comes from these sponsors. It's only because of them and because of all of you that we're able to bring these amazing speakers out here. So thanks to our sponsors if you're here. Heartfelt thanks to you. And now we move on to our next session. We have discussed scaling, we have discussed venture funds, we have discussed how to start a startup, how to make an ecosystem. The next session is a keynote called Lessons from My Entrepreneurial Journey, and this is being hosted by some amazing speaker who will be announced by the chair of this session. The chair of this session, he has got too many titles, so like 6, 7, 8, 9, I don't know how many titles, but I'll say only 3. I hope that will be fine. So he's the board member of Hyderabad Angels. He's the core team member of TEDx Hyderabad. He is an investor, mentor, and co-founder of Triple IT Seed Fund, and 7, 8 more titles. But you understand, so this man is a veteran, and he's the chair of the next session. Let me invite him onto the stage. Let's give a big round of applause. Big round of applause after eating gulab jamuns and ice creams to Viiveck Verma.
Thank you very much, Simar. Thank you, and it's always good to be invited on stage by a colleague, and I'm sure all of you know about Simar's involvement with TEDx Chandigarh too, so in that sense we belong to the same tribe. So thank you very much, and good afternoon to all of you. My job today is largely to introduce the keynote speaker for today, and thereafter largely shut up and come back towards the end to facilitate some of the questions that we want to take. And it gives me great pleasure to kind of introduce, and then I'll invite him on to join us on the stage, is a speaker who comes with a very rich pedigree. If you look at it from practically any perspective, if you look at it from an education perspective, what better can you get than someone who comes from IIT, Carnegie Mellon, and then Harvard. So that's the pedigree we are talking about from an education standpoint, and thereafter when the person decides to start his career, he looks at starting his career with an organization like McKinsey. So that's again talking about a pedigree, and then after that he decides to get into the entrepreneurial space and then decides to do things on his own, sets up a family office, and then does a lot of work. How many of you have heard of Ashoka University? So the gentleman we are talking about is one of the founders and now the trustee of Ashoka University. And with that, I'd like to invite on stage Mr. Ashish Gupta, who's had the privilege of all of these things that I talked about, and now runs Benori Ventures, which is into startup funding, and now is also kind of getting into the KPO space by setting up the Benori KPO setup. So welcome on stage, Ashish. And with that, like I said, my job is largely to introduce him, bring him onto stage, and then largely shut up and let's listen to the entrepreneurial journey that Ashish has had. So all yours, Ashish.
Thank you very much for that rather kind introduction. And I know my job was made slightly easier by a TEDx friend here, because after lunch on the second day was one of the most difficult sessions to address. But hopefully some of the learnings that I have made over time during my entrepreneurial journey will be very relevant. And some of you who might already be dozing off would probably wake up. So with that, what I thought we could do today is I prepared a few comments here. So maybe I can read this out. And then really the better interaction and the more insightful part would be some Q&A. Am I audible at the back? Yeah? Okay. Okay, so here goes. It is indeed a pleasure to be delivering this keynote address. Several years back, I was sitting starry-eyed in a similar audience just like all of you. Conference after conference, I continued to learn from the iconic entrepreneurs that I heard and met. Little did I think that someday it would be time to give back and repay this debt. I hope what I will say in this keynote address helps many of you to not only not make the mistakes that I made in my entrepreneurial journey, but also realize that your potential as entrepreneurs is limitless. So some of the key lessons that I would like to share with you. First, not everyone is meant to be an entrepreneur. Over my career, I would have met thousands of entrepreneurs and I would have mentored many of them. Again and again, on numerous occasions, I asked myself, why is this person trying to become an entrepreneur? Have they really thought this through? Are they being honest to themselves and their inner self? Or is it just out of sheer peer pressure? I ask this question to almost all the people that I meet and mentor, and invariably I hear the following things. The first thing which I hear the most is, everybody is doing this. This was exactly the reason that I started my first startup in the late 90s. I had a very successful career at McKinsey, as was mentioned. Even in the year 2000, I was earning really a lot of money at that time and was well on track to becoming a partner in the firm. Yet, I was very uneasy and almost unhappy. Why was it that so many of my friends and colleagues were leaving the firm to start some random company? I had to do something about this. Hence, I also left McKinsey and started my first startup, which needless to say failed. The second thing that one hears is that it is a cool thing to do, to start a company. The third is, my parents are pressurizing me to start a company. And the final one, which I think I hear a lot these days, oh, I was this hotshot executive in a multinational company and a VC called me up and told me that they would invest millions of dollars in my startup. Not many people, I'm afraid, say the following. I don't hear people saying, I really want to solve a problem. I don't hear people saying, I see a lot of inefficiency in the current way of doing things. I don't see people saying, I see a lot of pain that people of India go through and actually want to make their lives better. I'm just sick and tired of the large companies extracting rent from their customers, and I just want to disrupt every core industry there is. I don't hear any of this. So do not get me wrong, some entrepreneurs do think like this and end up creating unicorns. And these are the ones who are very self-aware about their own passions, dreams, capabilities, and their true inner identity. Happiness and success in life is all about being true to yourself. No matter who you are, you will be more successful and happy if you do what your gut tells you to do and not what others are doing. As John F. Kennedy famously said, if 40 million people are doing a silly thing, then it is still a silly thing. Think whether your core self is telling you to become an entrepreneur. Moving on, the second big lesson from my entrepreneurial journey is that timing is absolutely critical. I cannot say enough about this. Even if you are not able to judge a good time for becoming an entrepreneur, you should definitely sense a bad time for not becoming one. My first startup, as I mentioned, failed miserably. At that time when I started the company, there were strong signals from the market that things were very risky. A lot of dot-coms were already going bust. VCs were stopping investments. Federal banks across the world were coming out with warnings, and there were very few internet companies that showed any traction whatsoever. Yet, being somewhat arrogant about myself, all the nice degrees that he talked about, IITN, MBA from the US, working from one of the best consulting firms in the world, my sense was, how can I go wrong? Of course, when I lost all my savings and had to lay off 25 of my employees just a week before Diwali, I realized that I had made a very big mistake by starting a company in such an environment. The big learning for me was that the worst thing that you can do is to get impatient about starting your company. It is better to delay the start of your company by 1 to 2 years than to just jump into something because time is short. You will more than make up for the perceived lost time later on because the conditions will be riper for you to accelerate your growth. Third big learning, it is 80 to 90% about execution and 10 to 20% about the idea itself. My second startup was a company called eValueServe. I co-founded the company in the year 2001 along with 2 friends. Along the way, I also created the global category called KPO, or Knowledge Process Outsourcing. Over the first 2 to 3 years, to the best of our estimates, more than 300 KPO companies mushroomed. But because of our absolutely best-in-class execution, by 2008, eValueServe had already become the world's largest and probably the best KPO on this planet. We had about 2,500 employees by then globally, whereas the closest competitor was about 600. How did we achieve this? By having a maniacal focus on execution. Being a people's business, we had to focus on our HR processes, which we scaled up very quickly and at a high quality level. We were able to execute very well with the client management. Our training programs were absolutely world class. Execution was fueled by an amazing culture, values, and a people's mission. It was the sheer passion for excellence of our 2,500 employees that made us climb such heights. People used to sleep in the office frequently. In the first 5 years, I myself hardly took any vacations. Entrepreneurs spend an inordinately high percentage of time on activities that do not necessarily result in superior execution. People talk about the time value of money, whereas they should be talking about the money value of time. Time is the only resource that we have as human beings. Why waste this precious time on having a well-designed 30 slides deck about your business plan? Why spend 2 hours to hire one person? Also, execution is about trusting your team and letting go. This ability of letting go and delegating even critical decisions to your team is the hallmark of an entrepreneur who knows how to execute excellently. Fourth learning. It is a marathon and not a 100-meter dash. Taj Mahal was not built in a day or even an year. There is not a single example in human history where a highly impactful and successful business institution was built overnight. In recent times though, timelines have definitely got reduced and large businesses have executed well and grown by leaps and bounds. My point is that it takes time to build an institution. This is a marathon and not a quick dash to stardom. Do you have the stamina for this? Do you continuously have this growth mindset of surviving at all costs and not giving up? Do you have the passion for your business, which is almost like a cause for you, and you will keep on doing this because this is almost like a higher purpose of your life? Think about it. I will almost be done. Another 2 or 3 points from my side. Profitability first and then scalability. Now, I cannot tell you how many discussions and debates and even over some drinks I've had with my VC friends around this point. And I know there are some VCs in the room here, so I should be very careful with what I say about them. But my argument has always been that if this was your own money, how many of these investments would you actually make? Normally, I don't get the right answer. Okay? Our forefathers told us in the past and wise people who have achieved greatness and who are alive today continue to tell us that greed is bad. Business has to be about profitability and growing sustainably. It cannot be about playing with investors' money and saying, what is my downside? As an entrepreneur, I'm talking now here. Worst case, if I fail, my value is only going to go up in the eyes of the next set of investors. I would like to say that I do not understand the VC business model, and hence this should not be seen as a criticism. I truly appreciate that it is an extremely difficult and a risky model. What I'm trying to say that as an investor, at least I always advise my portfolio companies that think of scaling up profits and not